Harihi Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we continue to Laghu Bhagavatamrita, text 10. Last time we... Hare Krishna, welcome. Last time we spoke about the pramana. Pramana meaning evidence. So we mentioned that before starting a discussion, one should make sure that all participants are having the same frame of reference. So that means they have to accept the authority of certain body of knowledge. And therefore Rupa Goswami begins by establishing the authority of the Veda, Shabda. And he says that there are three main sources, Shabda, Pratyaksha and Anumana, and he explains that, he proves that amongst them, Shabda, the spiritual sound coming from the Vedas, is the foremost. And Pratyaksha and Anumana, that means sense perception and reasoning, they have a place, they have a role to play, as long as they follow Shabda. And now after Pramana has been established, next stage is to speak about the Prameya. Prameya means what is the object of knowledge, what is proved, what is established on the basis of the Pramana. And now we start with text 10. Maybe somebody can give some study guides to the devotees, if there is at least one. Okay. Just one, huh? Okay. Sorry. Okay, text 10. One by one. Which page is this? 14. One by one, the various forms will be described in order to declare the supreme form of Krishna among all the forms because of his attractiveness in various aspects. Footnote. Having concluded the discussion of Pramana, now Rupa Goswami turns to Prameya, the object of knowledge. Having defined the means of gaining knowledge, so this is the commentary of Baladev Vidibhushan. And bold is the Rupa Goswami's own words. Having defined the means of gaining knowledge, now the author begins to define the object of worship revealed by that means, scripture. The various forms of the Lord will be delineated one by one in order to declare the chief or supreme form of Krishna, who sucks the breast of Yashoda. He is the chief among all the avatar forms and empowered forms, Upashyeshu, because of his attractiveness, which is manifest through his Shaktis, qualities, Vibhutis, and pastimes. So on the basis of the attractiveness, Krishna, Swayam Bhagavan Krishna, Vraja Krishna, is declared to be the supreme form of the Lord. And this attractiveness manifests through his potencies, qualities, opulence, and beautiful pastimes. Text 11. Krishna appears in... So now, Rupa Goswami will explain why, amongst all the forms of the Lord, Krishna is the supreme. Krishna appears in three forms in his abodes beyond the material world. So they are Swayam Rupa, essential form, Tadakatma Rupa, forms which are non-different from it, and Avesha Rupa, empowered forms. How can the Lord have, first of all, how can the Lord have innumerable forms when the Shruti says, Ekam Eva Dvitiyam, He is one without a second. Chandogya Upanishad 6:2-1. And Smriti says, Tattvam Yat Jnanam Advayam, He is one indivisible truth. This is from Srimad Bhagavatam. So this verse answers. So the question, the doubt is, how is it possible that the Supreme Absolute Truth, which is one without a second, and about whom Bhagavatam states that His Brahmati Tattvam Yat Jnanam Advayam, it's non-dual substance. How is it possible that this person has many forms? It's one person. Now we are talking that he has many different manifestations. And this verse answers. Asau means Krishna. It is not an unreasonable statement because Krishna can manifest many forms through his Achintya Shakti without giving up one form. So here, Achintya means inconceivable. Through his inconceivable potency, the Lord can manifest many different forms and still sustain his original form. I was thinking about this just prior to the class, and I was considering how we also like to, at least some of us, I don't know about everyone, we also like to have different appearances sometimes, especially ladies, right? They like to, they like variety, right? So the clothes should be different, and the colors and the combination and the haircut and makeup, and sometimes you see some lady and she looks like a different personality. And this is like purposefully done, because why? Because it's fun, appear different. Otherwise it's boring. Men are a little different. Men just same clothes, same color. They go to the same bar every evening, eat the same thing, and drink the same beer with the same people and talk about the same stuff, and they find somehow this is okay for them. But sometimes everybody needs this variety. And imagine if you can, because every personality has different qualities, different moods. So imagine if you can emphasize certain quality and certain mood that you really like to such a degree that it becomes a manifestation of you. It's different, at the same time the same person. And you can emanate it, and this person can do stuff according to this particular mood and particular whatever, pastime. But you are the same, and he's also. The emanation is the same. I was just trying to think about some analogy. So then, Krishna can manifest, and this happens through his Achintya Shakti. Of course, we cannot do this, but Krishna can do this because his energy is inconceivable, and also she's a pure devotee of Krishna, and she's looking for any opportunity to fulfill Krishna's desires. It's called Icha Shakti. That is Shakti of desires. Krishna is Satya Sankalpa. His desire is reality. So just like a first-class student or son, he doesn't wait for the guru or the master to tell him what to do. He knows what is the mood of the master, and he does it before the master tells him. So this is the Achintya Shakti of the Lord. She is very careful to ascertain what is the desire of Krishna, and she does it. She fulfills the desire. Okay, so then, does the Shruti of the Atharva Veda says, Eko Vashi Sarvaga Krishna Idya Eko Pisam Bahudayo Vibhati. Krishna living in one place pervades everywhere. Though one, he manifests many forms. Gopal Tapani Upanishad. It is also said, Ekaneka Svarupaya, the Lord has one and many forms, Vishnu Purana. And yet, Those whose intelligence is pure follow the injunctions of Vaishnava scriptures promulgated by you. Absorbing their minds in thought of you, they worship you as the one Supreme Lord, manifesting in multiple forms. Srimad Bhagavatam 10:47. And now there will be analogy so that we can understand more clearly. He is like the Vaidurya stone, which changes its color, or is like a transcendental actor. In reply to the verses raised for argument, ekam advitiyam means that one tattva has qualification of variety. One tattva has the qualification of variety. And advaya jnanam means that the Lord has variety in three forms: Bhagavan, Paramatma, and Brahman. Thus it is proven that by his Achintya Shakti, he manifests many forms. The dhammas, or abodes beyond the material realm, indicate places such as Gokula and different Vaikuntha planets called Paravyoma, which are manifested through spiritual energy. So the analogy is just like a precious stone. When you look at the stone from different angles, it appears that the stone has different colors, but it's the same stone. And in the same time, the devotees sometimes they glorify different qualities of the Lord, because the Lord is the origin of all qualities. He is what was the verse? Akila Rasamrita Murti. He is the fountainhead, the reservoir of all rasas, all qualities, and glorifying different aspects of the Lord. Different devotees appear to sometimes to be in conflict, which is not actually a conflict. They're just attracted to different pastimes, moods, forms of the Lord, who is one. Okay? Text 12. Anyapekshi yat rupam svayam rupa sa uchyate. That form which is not dependent on others is called the Svayam Rupa. Now there will be technical description of different forms of the Lord. And we begin with original form, Svayam Rupa. Svayam means svoi. Svoi. Svayam. His own form. And this is Vraja Krishna. This verse defines the Svayam Rupa. So, he whose Svarupa does not depend on anything else is called the Svayam Rupa. So this is the original form, doesn't depend on any other form. Other forms depend on Svayam Rupa because they are expanded by the will of Vraja Krishna. And Vraja Krishna is self-manifest. It doesn't depend on anyone else. Still, Hare Krishna. Still, Vraja Krishna also depends on somebody. And Krishna depends on his devotees. So in this sense, the rasa, the relationships, the pastimes are higher than the tattva, the philosophical truth, because Krishna, who is the supreme absolute reality, is also dependent on his pure devotees. Why? Because they have this special prema which controls him. Just as it is, yes.
In Bhagavatam, we can tell that Krishna is Bhagavan Bhakti Bhaktiman. He's willing to become devotee of his devotees.
Yes.
By his own sweet will, he's taking this subordinate position.
Yes.
And accepts orders from his devotees, fulfills the desires.
And he takes great pleasure in doing this. Krishna himself, he says, when my lovers, my girlfriends, they are in very angry mood and they are rebuking me, they are angry at me, this mood and these words coming from them immediately steals away my mind from all the Vedic mantras that great sages and Brahmins, they are chanting. In other words, he's more attracted to this intimate relationship than to official own reverence dealings. Yes, and we hear often that Krishna easily gives liberation, but he doesn't give so easily what?
Devotion.
Prema, pure bhakti. Why? Usually what we hear?
To be controlled.
Because he's reluctant, because if he gives this to the devotee, then that means he will be controlled by this devotee. So in the Laghu Bhagavatamrita, Narada Muni, he has little problem with this definition. And he says, well, why should Krishna have problem with being dependent on his devotees? Why should he be reluctant to give this prema? Why? What's the reason? He enjoys this very much. It is very pleasurable for him, according to his own words. So then why it's so, he gives it so rarely? He bestows it so rarely. And he answers, because he gives this prema only to the devotees who are completely indifferent to all material considerations. So, in other words, the problem is with us. The problem is not with Krishna. It's not that he's stingy, he doesn't want to give it. He wants, but we have to be qualified. And also, like Tulsikur was quoting this verse, there is another verse from 9th canto. Krishna says, Nahamat manamashasem mad bhaktai sadubir vina shriyam chatyantikim brahman yesham gatiraham para. When Ambarish Maharaj is offended by Durvasa Muni, and Durvasa goes all the way to Vaikuntha, and he meets the Lord, and he prays for protection because Sudarshan Chakra is chasing him, and then Krishna tells him this verse. He says that maybe I look independent, but I am not independent. In fact, I am dependent on my devotees. And then he goes on explaining, my devotees, they gave up for my sake, yedara gara putra apta, their family life, their wealth, their children, their home, their wives, they gave up everything for me. So how can I be indifferent in any time to them, at any time to them? So this shows how Krishna is dependent on his devotees, although he is supremely independent. So that's another seeming contradiction in Krishna. And this contradiction, seemingly contradicting qualities, are resolved by his Achintya Shakti, inconceivable energy. Alright, so just as it is said that a man of austerity is not dependent on anyone for service, but is fully dependent only on himself, Svayam, that form of Krishna, which is self-manifesting and is not dependent on others for its appearance, is called Svayam Rupa. The basis of this characteristic is understood from the word Ananya Siddha in statement in the 10th canto. So now the proof is in the 10th canto, and now there will be verse quoted from 10th canto. The women of Mathura said, what austerities must the gopis have performed? So this happens when Krishna enters Mathura, and after he leaves Vrindavan, and inhabitants of Mathura, they can see him for the first time in these pastimes. So the ladies of Mathura, they see Krishna, and this is what they say. What austerities must the gopis from Vrindavan have performed? With their eyes, they always drink the nectar of Lord Krishna's form, which is the essence of loveliness and is not to be equaled or surpassed. Ananya Siddham. So here's the proof. Ananya Siddham means cannot be equal, nothing can be equal or greater than this form. That loveliness is the only abode of beauty, fame, and opulence. It is self-perfect, ever fresh, and extremely rare. Srimad Bhagavatam 10:44-14. When speaking of otherness in relation to the Lord's form and Himself, actual difference is not implied, but rather vishesha or apparent difference. For the form of the Lord is without actual differentiation of parts. Footnote. The definition of Svayam Rupa or Ananya Siddha seems to distinguish the form and qualities of the Lord from Himself. However, this is merely an expression of difference, where no difference actually exists. The very idea of Anya, other beings existing beside the One Supreme, has a real basis only in the fact of His expanding variety, Vishesha, from Himself, by His inconceivable energies, not in any factual difference within Himself. The substance of the Supreme is always undivided. That is the power of Vishesha. So here, again, the doubt is whether there can be anything separate from the Lord. And this is not possible because Krishna is the origin of everything. Everything is energy of Krishna or personal expansion of Krishna.
So if someone is asking, what is the source of Krishna, this can be the...
Yeah, and here, yes, also here, this idea of Vishesha, apparent difference, I think this is very similar to Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva. Basically, it's the same concept. It means it appears that it is different, and it is different in a certain sense, but it is simultaneously and inconceivably the same, like the original form of the Lord. Here, a little later, we will see a... Do you have this in your study guides? There is a map of all the incarnations, all the expansions. Is it printed? Yeah, okay.
18.
Okay, text 13. Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachitananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. Krishna, who is known as Govinda, is the Supreme Godhead. He has an eternal, blissful, spiritual body. He is the origin of all. That in... окей. Що не искате? Ма те ще гледат от едно. They will share. Okay. Krishna, who is known as Govinda, is... So this is another proof that Krishna is Svayam Rupa, is the original and most... the only independent, completely independent form of the Lord. Another proof. Krishna, who is known as Govinda, is the Supreme Godhead. He has an eternal, blissful, spiritual body. He is the origin of all. He has no other origin, and he is the prime cause of all causes. Brahma Samhita 5.1. An example of Svayam Rupa is given. What is Svayam Rupa? Svayam. Okay, the original form. The person Krishna is taken as the subject because that is the meaning taken from scriptures. The conventional meaning of Krishna, the son of Yashoda, is taken because of the rule Ruddhir Yogam Apaharati. Conventional meaning overrides etymology. Here's the meaning is that when you read something, when you study some text or you hear something, first you take the direct meaning. And then if the direct meaning doesn't make any sense, then you can take indirect etymological meaning. For example, there is this classical example they give in the Indian philosophy. A village on the Ganga. So the direct meaning doesn't make any sense because the village cannot be on the Ganga, cannot be in the water. Where is the village? It's on the bank of the Ganga. So then you take the etymological meaning. But otherwise, if it does make sense, then you're obliged to take the direct meaning. This is one of the arguments that we level against the Mayavadis, because they like to twist and to interpret the words of the Vedas, and Mahaprabhu says that when you start to when you make interpretation of the Veda, then the authority of the Veda is lost. Why? Because then you bring up your own mental concoction. Srila Prabhupada gives the example. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Asnami prayatatmanaha. Krishna says, I verily eat. I eat whatever is offered to me with love and devotion. In the Mayavadis, they say, no, that's not what it means. God cannot eat. He doesn't have this deficiency that he has to eat. And then Prabhupada says, well, Krishna says that I eat, and some Mayavadi says, God cannot eat. So, to whom should I believe? To Krishna or this stupid, foolish person? Or another example, Krishna says, again in Gita, Manmana bhava mad bhakto mad yaji mam namaskuru. Very clear Sanskrit. Mam, you worship me, you offer obeisance to me. And then some Mayavadi, they say, no, it's not to Krishna. It is to the impersonal Brahman who speaks inside of Krishna. It's another example why we cannot speculate on the words of the Veda. We take it as they are, and if there is a need, then the acharyas, they point out when we take it in a figurative or etymological way, indirect way. Just like in Bhagavatam, there are some stories like this. For example, the story of King Puranjana. There is no King Puranjana. It's a allegorical story which Narada Muni tells to the king Prachina Barhishat in order to convince him about the absolute truth and to make him vanaprastha. But when this happens, then Bhagavatam will tell you this is an allegorical story. But if Bhagavatam doesn't say explicitly that this is should be taken indirectly, then we are duty bound to take it in direct meaning. This doesn't mean that when we take it directly, it doesn't mean that it cannot have the meaning cannot have many different layers. You know, for example, in 10th canto we read how Krishna killed many demons. So these are real demons, and there were real fights, and Krishna truly killed them all. However, this is not all. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, for example, he explains how each and every one of these demons, he signified, it was symbolic representation of anartha, contamination in our heart that has been destroyed by Krishna. So at the same time, there is a direct meaning, and there is also a, shall we say, esoteric or even deeper meaning. They don't contradict one another. Okay. The author, okay. The followers of Bhatta say, one should accept conventional meaning and reject etymology when that makes sense. The author of Navakaumudi says, the word Krishna has the conventional meaning, the supreme Brahman in the form of Yashoda's son, having the complexion of a tamala tree. So this is the direct meaning of the word Krishna, the supreme Brahman. So whenever this word is used, then we have to accept this meaning, unless there is good reason for accepting etymological. The etymological meaning can indicate something different. Parama and Ishvara describe Krishna. So now we are talking about Ishvara Parama Krishna, right? Now there will be analysis of these words. Parama and Ishvara describe Krishna, indicating that he is not dependent on anyone else. Thus he is distinct from the Vilasa and Svamsha forms. So Vilasa means form which is slightly less in quality, than the original form, and Svamsha means form which is even less in quality than the original form. Although they are the same form. Slightly less in quality means only that Krishna decides not to reveal all of his qualities right now, because this is his own sweet will. Although he has them, Srila Prabhupada said, Ramachandra could play the flute, but he decides not to play the flute. Okay. What is his composition? He is Satchitananda Vigraha. He has a form which is knowledge, chit, and which is bliss. This is Karma Dharaya, compound, and means he is incarnate, Vigraha, self-revealing, chit, bliss, Ananda. The word Sat refers to his beauty, for his body is composed of exceedingly attractive limbs. Okay.
How Sat refers to the beauty?
Yeah, this is the footnote.
You think that Ananda or...
Yeah, there is a footnote. Sat can mean beautiful according to a dictionary. Can mean also beautiful. Just like, yeah. These are the intricacies of the Sanskrit language. I was thinking this is also very interesting because according to the context, you can derive many different meanings. Therefore, sometimes the acharyas, they have different renditions of the same verse and explain it in different ways. And also sometimes we see how the demons, they blaspheme the Lord. But when the acharyas comment, they explain that they actually wanted to say some bad words, but what they actually said was a glorification of the Lord. This shows that the language itself, just like it is explained in Harinamamrita Vyakarana, Narayana Udbhutto Yam Varnakramaha. The letters come from Narayana. That means everything is energy of the Lord. The letters, the words, Vakshakti, the power of speech, all these are different energies, or maybe the same energy, of the Lord, and they're meant to glorify the Lord. So the language itself is meant for communication, glorification of the Lord. Therefore, when the language is used, it doesn't really matter so much what the intent, meaning of the author was. More important is what he actually said. And what he actually said is determined by the devotees of the Lord, not by the person who uttered the sentences, because he's not Krishna conscious. Anyway, this is side point. Sat does not mean all-pervading, because this meaning is including in the phrase sarva karana karanam. Okay, so this is I guess this is the answer of your question. Sat does not mean all-pervading, because this was already included in the phrase sarva karana karanam. Next, Krishna's pastime is described. The word Govinda indicates his pastime of herding the cows. For later it will be said in Brahma Samhita, Surabi Avipalayantam. This does not indicate some low occupation, because herding cows may be taken as some low job. The Go Sukta says, sacrifices began with the cows. The devatas arise from the cows. The Vedas, along with the recitation of the 6 sangas, were proclaimed by the cows. So this is interesting, how the cows proclaimed the Vedas. Aren't you curious to know? I don't know, I'm just asking. Okay. Anadi means one who is not accepted to be under anyone's control. He is viewed as such by the Yadus in Dwarka. Adi here means he who is accepted as controlled by others, and refers to his existence in Vraja. All right, so very interesting. So he was independent in Dwarka, but in Vrindavana he is dependent. Anadi should not be taken to mean without beginning or cause. Anadi should not be taken without beginning or cause, and Adi should not be taken to mean the head of others, because these meanings are covered in the phrase Sarva Karana Karanam. Next, another pastime of Krishna is described with the words Sarva Karana Karanam. The Shruti describes him in this way. He is the cause, the ruler of causes, who has no ruler over him. Shvetashvatara Upanishad. One should understand that this pastime of ruling the universe is performed by Krishna's Swamsha Purusha Avatara, Mahavishnu. In this way, Swayam Rupa Krishna is described in this verse. So ruling the universe is not done directly by Krishna, it's done by his expansion. Text 14. That form which is non-different from the Swayam Rupa, but appears to be different because of differing shape, activities, etc., is called Tadakatma Rupa. That Tadakatma Rupa has two forms, Vilasa and Swamsha. This verse describes the Tadakatma Rupa. When we see this diagram, it will become more clear when we have the visual. Now we'll just read through. This form is non-different from or one with the Swayam Rupa of Krishna. But it appears to differ by form, activities, though it actually is not different. Tadakatma Rupa has two different forms, Vilasa and Swamsha. Text 15. So, now there will be example. That form which is different from the original form for performing different pastimes and which is very slightly less in qualities is called the Vilasa form. So who is the Vilasa of Lord Krishna then? Could be. Yeah, because it's very slightly less in qualities.
It's different in shape.
Although Balaram is technically he's not Vilasa, it's a different term from him. He's Prakasha. That means there are two forms, two Prakash forms, Vaibhava and Prabhava. So he's, I think, Vaibhava Prakash, which means it's the same Krishna but in different shape. So he's still with the Swayam Rupa. Anyway, we'll see this later. So here the example is Narayana, his Vilasa of Krishna. The characteristics of the Vilasa form are described in this verse. In this form, the composition of limbs is different, Anyakaram, for the performance of particular pastimes, Vilasata. And this form is not different from the Swayam Rupa. It is approximately equal to the original form, since it is slightly less in qualities, Prayena. The qualities lacking in Narayana are shown as follows. So there is footnote. Lacking means that the qualities are not manifest in forms less than Krishna. Doesn't mean that they are lacking, actually, just not manifest. Just like the living entities, sometimes they are not manifested, but they are eternal. Not fevaham jatuna sam natam neme janadipa, na chaiva na bhavishyama sarva vayata param. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that neither you nor me nor all these kings have never existed. There was no time when all of us have not existed, or there won't be any time in the future when we will not exist. And right now we are also existing. So we are eternal, but sometimes the living entities are just sleeping in the body of Sankarshan, not manifest. But they are there. Okay, the qualities lacking in Narayana are shown as follows. The four extraordinary qualities possessed by Govinda alone are as follows. He is extraordinary by his special pastimes, by his devotees, endowed with abundant prema, by sweetness of his flute, and by the sweetness of his form. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 2143. So these are the unique qualities of Krishna, which are not manifested by Narayana, the four-armed form. from Vaikuntha. The qualities lacking, the definition of vilasa will also apply to relationship between other forms. An example is given in the next verse. So this term vilasa applies not only in connection to Krishna and Narayana, but applies also to other expansions of Narayana later on, down the road. It's a generic term that can be used across different cases. Just as the Lord of the spiritual sky, Narayana, is the vilasa form of Govinda, so Vasudeva is the vilasa form of the Lord of the spiritual sky, original Narayan in Vaikuntha. The proof for this is, I worship the Supreme Lord Govinda, who endows the abodes of Durga, Shiva and Vishnu, which are situated below his own planet of Goloka, with their respective powers. Brahma Samhita 43. Even though both Narayan and Vasudeva appear to be the same form because of having 4 arms and being blackish in color, there is a difference caused by restriction of the manifestation of qualities in Vasudeva. This is similar to Rama and Bharat, who are both supreme, but in a relationship of the master and the servant. Therefore, Servitor Bhagavan and Balaram, whose representative are the spiritual master. So then,
these forms, each form would show lesser manifestation of the powers.
and
That's why it gets a different name.
yes,
Otherwise, basically it's the same.
same, and less attractive also. The attractiveness, the most powerful, the original form is in Krishna, and then as they go down, they are less and less attractive. Although this sounds like a blasphemy, but we'll read about this later. And the example is given is with Jaya and Vijaya, when they had these 3 incarnations in the material world. Hiranyakashipu didn't get liberation. Ravana didn't get liberation. Shishupala did, because he was killed by Krishna. Hiranyakashipu was killed by Nrsimhadev, Ravana by Ramachandra. They did not get liberation. They only got, because it's one person. He only got a special material appearance. Hiranyakashipu was born as Ravana in next life. Again, he was born as Shishupala. But Krishna only liberated them because he manifested this attractive power feature, and Shishupala was the last moment. When he was touched by Sudarshan Chakra, he got purified, and he finally saw the Lord as his, and then he attained prema. That's what the Acharya says. And he was embraced by the Lord, and then so Krishna is the most attractive. So we can.
You say that if you're going from down to up, they are attractive, more attractive, most.
Yeah.
So all of them are attractive.
Yeah. Everybody's. Yeah. This is Krishna. And then you see down there the Avesha forms, which are actually living entities who are empowered, endowed by specific energy of the Lord, specific Shakti, and they're also very attractive. But you cannot compare with the original source of all attractiveness. So let us look at this diagram. Can you see it clearly? So first is Sri Krishna, Vraja Krishna. His original form as a cowherd boy in Vrindavan. So this is Swayam Rupa, the original form. And then below, Swayam Prakasha. These are his own manifestations. What are those forms? Those are different forms of Krishna when he dances with the gopis. It's the same form. but he expands in innumerable forms. And also, all the expansions of Krishna when he marries simultaneously all the princesses, all the queens in Dwarka. Krishna, by the way, he expanded not only himself, but he expanded also his parents, because the parents should attend the wedding of their son, and all these weddings, they happened simultaneously. So all the princesses, they were thinking that Krishna's parents are only here with me, so I'm the most important. There were 16,108, and each and every one thought, I'm the most special, I'm the favorite one, because the parents of Krishna are here with me. They couldn't be possibly anywhere else. And also Krishna, when he expands in this way, he doesn't expand mechanically, just copy paste, exactly the same thing. No, he takes in consideration the specific qualities of the girl, and he matches those. So all these expansions, we say that according to Tattva they're the same. They call it Swayam Prakash, but they're not exactly the same, because every princess has unique characteristics, and Krishna wants to match exactly those. There will be slight difference in mood, in appearance, in other things, so that the devotee is pleased. Everything is customized according to the devotee. What is the tuning, right? Tuning, what's the word for it? They have these special cars that are produced especially for somebody. He orders, and they do it. So then this is Swayam Prakash, and then we have Vaibhava Prakash. Swayam Prakash, huh? No, sorry. Swayam Prakash has two. This is the generic term, and then it has two types. Prabhava Prakash is what we are talking until now, the Krishna who expands for the rasa dance, and then you have Vaibhava Prakash, who is expansions with different moods and bodily features, such as his brother Balaram. So there is no difference between Krishna and Balaram. The only difference is that they appear in a slightly different form, although it's the same person. So this is the closest expansion to Krishna.
Question.
Yes.
Regarding Balaram, because in Chaitanya Charitamrita, this text, Adilila chapter 1, verse 78, Krishna Swami wrote, examples of such Vilasa Vigraha are Baladeva, Narayana, and Vaikuntha Dhama, and Chaturvyuha Vasudeva Sankarshan.
Because he speaks here about Vilas. So that means, according to this, Baladev is also Vilas of Krishna. I have no idea how to reconcile this.
You said that Vilas can be used for many different incarnations. It's a term.
Yeah, it's a generic term. Whenever it is slightly less in qualities, it's called Vilas. That means it can be used for Krishna, Narayana for Narayana, and Vasudeva for Vasudeva, and Pradyumna, and then Aniruddha. But I don't know why. We have to investigate more this. But sometimes the acharyas, they use these terms interchangingly. For example, Srila Prabhupada, sometimes he uses karma yoga as the same as Krishna consciousness, as bhakti yoga, and sometimes he is using it as a technical term describing working without attachment for the result, with knowledge. And then Tadakatma Rupa, expansions with different moods and bodily features. And here, there are all different types of incarnations of Krishna. So this is the Chaturvyuha, first of all, which expand from Balaram, the original Chaturvyuha, Vasudeva, Sankarsana, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha. And then from this Chaturvyuha expands the second Chaturvyuha, second set of the Chaturvyuha forms, presiding over the 4 directions, 3 expansions from each one of the original Chaturvyuha forms, each presiding over one of the 12 months, an additional 2 Vilasa Murtis from each one of the original Chaturvyuha, which primarily Vaibhava Vilasa expansions. And then the Lila avatars, pastime incarnations of the Lord, like Matsya, Kurma, Ramachandra, Nrisimha, etc. And then Purusha avatars, these are the avatars for the creation of the universe, the whole creation. And then Guna avatars, which control the 3 gunas. And then Shakti Avesha avatars, specially empowered living entities who are representatives of the Lord. For example, 4 Kumaras, Narada, Brahma, Ananta, Manvantara avatara. These are different avatars of Krishna. They are appearing in each Manvantara period, and their function is to protect Indra, the manager of the universe, when the bad guys create problem. And then Yuga Avatara, descendants of the Lord to establish the religion of the age. For each of the 4 ages, they manifest in 4 colors. So these Yuga Avatars, we will read later, they appear through the Manvantara Avatar. And all these little avatars, with some exceptions, they appear through Garbhodakashaya Vishnu. Clear? You can look at it at home. If you have some questions, we can discuss.
I have a question. Why in verse, I think 11. Verse 11. So if we said Krishna has 3 forms: Svayam Rupa, Tatekatma Rupa, and Avesha. And here, Avesha is included in Tatekatma Rupa category. Shakti Avesha is included. And, so it looks like that actually Avesha is like part subordinate to the Tatekatma.
Yes.
It's like that.
Where is the Avesha? I don't see it. Shakti Avesha Avatara? Yeah. Svamsha. It is these partial manifestations of the Lord. Okay, Tathakatma Rupa. So this is Vilas, when it's slightly less in quality than Svamsha, it's even less than Vilas. And Svamsha, when Svamsha expands, additionally then some of these powers go to some living entity, and then he can perform some service of the Lord. So, what was the question? Is it part of the...
Yeah, in verse 11 is described as a different category, Shakti Avesha Avatara, Avesha, but here it's included in the Tathakatma Rupa. Anyway,
it is, the threshold is that it is a Jiva, I think, because it's not Vishnu Tattva, it's Jiva Tattva. And therefore it's not Krishna, but he is using part of Krishna's opulence, but it's not Vishnu. It's not Ishvara. It's Jiva.
so that's why it's in different category.
Could be taken in this way, could be taken in that way. Definition of Svamsha. That form, which is similar to the Vilasa form, but manifests fewer powers than the Vilasa form, is called Svamsha. Examples are the forms of Sankarshana and Matsya in their abodes in the spiritual world. This verse describes the Svamsha. It is similar to the Vilasa form. That is, it is non-different from the Svayam Rupa, but it shows less power than the Vilasa form. Again, not different from the Svayam-rupa, but less powers than the Vilasa form. But the Vilasa is also not different. But this definition of Amsha and Namshi is contrary to what, this is the doubt now. This definition of Amsha and Namshi, what is Amsha and what is Amshi?
Part. Amshi is part.
Amshi is part, and who is the Amshi?
The owner of the part.
Yes, the person who emanates this part, he's the Amshi. Therefore, Krishna is Avatari, because everybody descends from him, and they are all avatars. Okay. This definition of Amsha and Amshi is contrary to what has been said by the previous Acharya Madhva. In commenting on Svapayat Brahma Sutra 119, Madhva says that this indicates that all forms of the Lord are perfect. So here again the same doubt, like we dealt with this doubt already before. How can you say that there are gradation or hierarchy in the Lord's forms when they are absolute and there is no difference, they are all the same? How can you have these two contradictory statements? However, in commenting on other sutras such as Prakashadivat Naivam Paraha, Vedanta Sutra 2344, and Smaranticha, Vedanta Sutras 2347, Madhva has explained about the relationship between the Amsha and Amshi. Even in the commentary on Svapayap, he indicates non-difference only in the sense that all the forms of the Lord are perfect. Thus there is no contradiction. Also it will be explained later with the words Shakti Vyakti, that the difference is a difference in manifestation of powers only. The manifestation or non-manifestation of this potency is the basis of gradation. So the basis of gradation is not whether this particular form has this potency. They all have all the potencies, but the difference is only whether they decide in this particular case to manifest them. That's the only thing we say. So then we keep the absoluteness of the form of the Lord, and we keep also the science of rasa, because the Lord decides to reciprocate with different devotees in different way. Otherwise, we have only one Lord. He does only one thing. And no matter how you approach him, he's just... No, Krishna doesn't want to do this. He wants to have different relationship with different people. Therefore, he manifests different shaktis and powers. Yes.
So again, we can see that actually, like the impersonalists, they are dealing more only with the tattva aspect of the Lord. They don't deal much with the rasa aspect of the Lord, because okay, they put so much stress on the absolute nature of the Lord.
Yeah.
But they don't speak much about the difference.
Yeah, because difference implies relationships, and they're not good in relationships. They don't, in fact, they don't want to have relationships. Of course, there is this fusion, this twilight zone, sandhya, between impersonalists and Shanta Bhaktas. And the Shanta devotees, they realize, the origin of this, they're attracted to this feeling of oneness and equanimity and harmony and peace. But at one point they realize if they have the mercy of the Lord and the devotees, that the origin of this is Krishna. Actually, he is the basis of Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says, I'm the basis of the impersonal Brahman. What was the... Brahmano hi pratishta aham amritasya vyasya sukasya ikantikasya cha. So they realize, wow, this is actually a person there. And he's the origin of this feeling that I have in my heart. He's in my heart, but then they stay there. They don't want to develop active relationship with the Lord. They prefer just to contemplate and to meditate on Him. And they are also devotees, although not all acharyas include them in the category of rasa. So, sorry, what was the question? I went.
They put more stress
on
tattva.
Yeah, tattva means putting more stress on tattva means that I am more important. How I feel, how I see the world, this is my focus. And then rasa means I want to do something for the Lord and for the devotees. I want to be actively involved in this relationship. And tattva means just I want to be peaceful. Okay, Krishna is the source of this peace and harmony and happiness. So I acknowledge that, but that's it. No more. All right. Some other thoughts? Om Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Jai Nitai Gaur Premanande. All glory